Yagay Xatini, Chastakat Johan. Tag itit Koaha, Aka Adadawe Utachutang. Kayaaní. Yeawe ach injini a Yachgutse Yuduasak. Kanachwe de Tuasaku a Klein Saku aya Aus Kubu. We Kayaaní Shagun. Kayaaní da it Gwalhiwe Yuduasaku at. Uhan Kwa wan Qarnins. Chag Yeawe Ade Yejituni. Kayaaní Kagachtu Aq. Gachtu Sayi. Kayaaní. Gwal Kadkika. Gwal Shatkika. Gwal Hintak. Chawasa. Just Kayaaní Achtuasaku Yisayi. Aka Jagut Kuudu Idekakwaha. Gwal Chat Yisatin Hasako. Ade Aya. Kautusha Hitye. Which it Kagachtu Aq. Kayaaní Gachtu Sayi. Kachachtu Ashgut Suchwa Achwa Asai. Was dachte hin, Yin Kachwat Yin Aya. Kag Yiyak Kwasaka. Dechwa Ach. Yeawe Kagachtu Aq. In Gayone? Chukwa. Just take a Kayaaní, Isa.
Yake Irsatini, Equasatini, Hat would do what? Hooch.
Oh, just Kayaaní Gachtu Sa. It's a Kayaaní, just take a Kayaaní. It's a good Kayaaní. We do Kayaaní. Kena Aini A. Adgikach. As Adasa, just Asai, Achtuasaku Ach. Khatwa Shukwa.
Kayaaní.
Ach.
Oh, okay.
Itwa.
She hit.
She. Okay. Beth Itwa.
Kesh Wasaku
Chadap Kayaaní Sa. Just take a Asai, Achtuasaku Ach. Khatwa Sacht. Ivan Koa. She. As Kayaaní. Just do Asai, Achtuasaku Ach.
Douche?
Douche tel Kayaaní Uskuk. Dachte Sego at.
Grass or plant?
As.
Tree.
I'm having trouble remembering them.
Tree.
Coming up with animals.
Is just as has to sound as away.
Us? Okay.
Okay. Sasha Gal.
The trees are turning green.
Just take a Kayaaní Achtuasaku. Yachi. Asai. Sasha Gal. Utwa.
Kayaaní.
Blade yeti, English?
Kayaaní.
Oh, tap yeti. Yeah, oh, wait, tap yeti.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Click.
You okay? Yeah, oh, wait. It's got cookie.
Hi.
Okay. Hi. Let's say clay. See you. Duck. Oh, duck. Yeah, oh, cheese. Okay. Juan.
Yatsutat Khwatin Isuku Kayaaní Liacheti
Khosaku wasatu sa.
Ya Ishichan Kayaaní.
Yesha.
Like Ashichan.
Sachan.
Ashichan. Kayaaní.
Sesi ideka kwa Ayati. Achtua sago asai isaku kwa. Achtua sago kwa. Khosaku wasatu sa.
Shukatsewa Ach Yasai
Adakasa Kayaaní. Adakasa.
Kanata Kayaaní.
Kanata, yeah, oh, Kanata wasi. Yeke, Unachish, Zandon,
Yon.
Yan, yeah, oh, Yake, Tuahiko, Yake, Taguechi, Itro. Okay, cha adusa de tuasaku. Just kun Kayaaní sa gachtisa. Cha adusa de tuasaku.
Shach.
Plach, okay. Duck.
Keshish.
Keshish, Sheikh,
Nech.
Nech,
Shachatske.
Shachach. Hechasaka.
Tuj Yacheti H Kayaaní.
Shakask.
Shakask.
Shakask, okay.
Isk.
Kaj. It's a chan. Okay. Tilka, what's hooch?
Shika.
Yana 8.
Gonna 8. Oh. Dasha what? Kashisai Hosati. What Tuka?
X'éig.
Kinchi, yeah, what? That's it. X'éig. Nigun.
Get on my head.
Kayaaní. Ishkahagu. Okay, let's do a different game.
Sue.
So, okay. Sorry, I sprung it on you guys. Sorry. So we were naming plants and just trying to think, and like, I know we always forget plants, but we were working on plants today, and then all of a sudden I thought, let's see how many we could name. Let's see if I can give the instructions. Only in Tlingit. So I said, just Kayaaní. That's a big sentence, right? One at a time. We're going to try. Kayaaní, one plant. To name it. Which is wild, because we don't use sa as a verb that often. But I thought of that today too, because someone asked me, what did an elder mean when they said, gonna chishchati sayi? And I said, sounds to me like, thanks for saying my name. So, we named some plants. I said they could grow on the land, they can grow in the water. But I don't want to hear them more than once. I only want to hear them once. If I hear them twice, I'll say, I already heard it. We did this a long time ago. So now we'll do something different. I'll name a plant, and you guys you tell me what the name of it is in English. And I'll do ones we already named. X'éig.
Spruce tree.
Yeah, away. Duck.
Hemlock.
Like. Duck.
Alder?
Like. But it is a tree.
Birch tree.
Like.
Is it mountain ash?
Cedar.
But now I will name all of those. Let's say, okay, since you guys, what did we say so far? We said
Os.
hemlock, which is young. We said birch, which is utdayi. We said alder. You talking red or beech?
Red.
Red alder, shade.
Beach is Keshish.
Beech is keshish. What trees are left? Duck. Aksani connected to a suku. Atwukani. Duck.
Cottonwood.
That is absolutely correct.
What is it?
Cottonwood.
Cottonwood.
Oh, versus.
Yes. Duck is, or tuk is, what? It's a swamp hemlock. Swamp hemlock. Yun is the tall hemlock.
That's a swamp hemlock. Those little trees like at the muskegs. Is that it?
Wait, no.
Yanya's golf.
Yun is what you get the qa with. Duck, I don't think you can mess with.
Oh, apparently it's also called water hemlock. It's that really, really poisonous plant they killed Socrates with.
Yes. And when I tried to feed a bunch of English majors hearing aids, I said, we get it on hemlock. They were all convinced that they were also Socrates, and I was there to kill them. And no one would do it. I was offended on so many levels. Chukun.
That red alder?
No, I guess we left the trees.
Grass.
Grass. Geesh.
Is that seaweed?
It's I guess it's a type of seaweed.
Oh, is it full
Yeah.
It's
kelp?
a kelp.
All kelp is seaweed, but not all seaweed is kelp.
Is it
It's
like
a marine seaweed.
Bull
Is it-
kelp.
Yeah,
You
bull
know,
kelp.
Is a marine seaweed. I went and grabbed out my books.
Arch.
Ah,
Arch.
Red seaweed.
Red seaweed.
Ow.
Arch. I'm gonna land.
Shit ton.
oh yeah, subcaptains.
Okay.
Ah,
There was a critical conjugation error, which is totally fine. So when Juan was trying to describe God, which I was being stubborn and saying, I know it, but I'm not going to say it because I need to say the name. And then he said, you stink. And so, but I think he meant to say, Chichan, it stinks. But it's happened before. You know, I'll tell you another story. So we used to have classes just like this, a bunch of people on Zoom, a bunch of people in the room. I saw someone face to face that was always on the Zoom. And I said, what's that? I said, Satini, what's that? And they said, Kesh ishke. I said, Khateke? Kesh ishke. That's a yaksaneko. And she goes, what? And I said, why am I bad? And she said, oh no, I just meant I'm doing bad. I was like, I don't feel good. I was like, oh, well, you said Kesh ishke, which is you are bad. And so I was confused. And then I said, me? Is it really? And you said, yes, you're bad. And I said, what did I do? I said, oh no, I just made a little mistake. So it happens. Okay.
It happens.
Plant, we'll study plants. I like them. I think they're neat. There's lots of them that we can use for medicine. Okay, any language thoughts or questions? Anything you've been thinking about since we last met? We're going to dive back into Táax'aa.
Your focus on plants because of the new month.
Because of what?
We're in a new month with Kayaaní in the month name.
Yeah, it's Kayaaní, Dísi, which means it's harvesting time. Like it's time to start thinking about when that. I like to get this up to right before it opens up.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost time to go for that.
Fiddleheads.
Yeah, the fiddleheads are coming. Yeah, so it's an exciting time. Kayaaní, those are really good. The
I can't remember its English.
nettles
Yes.
singing bells?
and spruce tips. So yeah, I was thinking about that, and then a fellow language teacher was doing a lot of work on plant parts. So we had to know what some of these things are. We had to look. I don't know how to say them. Stamen and Calyx. What is that? Calyx.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's another thing that's similar to that. Anyways, we're doing
That's
with
some
that.
pretty specific words.
Yeah, and then we've got ones for like seeds and a seed pod and seeds that are in a cottony thing. You know, so it's fun. We'll do some of that stuff later. So,
I had an observation as I was going through, and of course I wasn't smart enough to write down which stem it was, but I was looking in the verb dictionary and there was a verb stem that had two meanings. There was a 1 and a 2, and from the verb dictionary it looked like they both had the same meaning or the same conjugation.
Oh, but
And I remember they were both yeah, but I don't remember the stem.
was it Shaw? I think that's one that does it. Okay, so we're looking
I don't
for.
remember.
So there are times where you're going to run into what seem to be identical verbs. I mean, that's one I could think of. So if you go up to SH, and so basically, well, here's one right here,
She.
right? So she, yashi, yashi.
Yep.
Both transitive, both different verbs.
I think that's what it was.
So here's one asking for help or seeking assistance, and here's one to sing. So I know the sing one is going to be g conjugation. So it's a kek or she. So that's one way I could tell the difference. And then if we just go look for help, we'll go see if we could find how this one is used. See what else we can determine about it. So here it is. Hatatiha ushi. Achjiiska katiyit aya ichwashi. Our master, our boss, I don't know, is asking for our help. For you, katiyit. Oh, for me, you will, so you would carry it. I am asking. This doesn't tell us a whole lot of information about it. I'm guessing it's not conjugation, but I don't know. Let's go see what's in here. Step one is, step one for me is the verb dictionary. Step two for me is this database. And then step three is Jeff Lear's work.
How often do you update the database?
It's not mine.
How long do they update it? How often?
I don't know.
Hmm.
I was not in communication with them. And so we don't see it here. Like this she is I think this she is a different one, to touch something. But here's this one, like a lot of us know, so this she is touching. So this is to like give a hug. This is to hope. I think this is probably the same one as helping, probably. So now we go into Lear's verb notes.
Last time the verb database was updated was September 15th, 2022. If you go to the front where it says Clicker English, it was created in 2014. So it's been a couple of years since it's
Yeah, it's been a minute.
It looked like there was a number 2 underneath that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's the one to sing.
Ah.
Well, I guess compose or sing. So we did this one today. At Katlishi would be to compose a song. And then here you have, so this, it's the same verb root though. I think composing a song and singing a song are the same verb root. And then you have she. But they do have different, like these are fading, which is interesting. These are ga, that's na. Okay, let's go in here. We're looking for she in terms of asking for help. Song, singing, began singing, composed a song, reached for it, extended a hand or an arm, wushi, de wushi, reached for it, at wushi, took it, accepted a gift, reached around it, made their bed, that's interesting, petting it, captured, taking it from, searching, came across, discovered it, frisking, dressing up, a helper, this is a noun, not she, helped with it, at wudishi, ashit wudishi, at audishi. I don't really see that, like asking for help in here. I see the closest thing I'm seeing.
Would that be under ask, maybe?
Well, this one is alphabetized only by the verb root. But here's wushi, to extend your arm. So, okay, that's interesting. So what we would need if there's a gathering in Sitka, and there might be some speakers there this weekend. So if that is happening, like we can ask this. So like to prep, like if you do this kind of work, let's say you find a verb like this, you say, okay, here's ushi. I don't really understand what's going on there. And then huashi, which would be ihuashi. There's a couple of things that are just a little funky for me with this, the way this verb is put together. I would expect ha wushi or ha. I would expect wushi there, ha wushi or how wushi. How it's got to have. It would have to have a plus I classifier if it happened. I would think, unless this is an imperfective, I don't know why it would have u in the front. And then underneath, ihuashi. I also don't understand why there's not two A's right there. Ihuashi. So what might be going on is there is an irialis just kind of built into this verb. And these might be imperfectives. And if they are imperfectives, then that means it's an act verb. And that means we can't tell what the conjugation prefix is yet. So we would need someone to say it in the future. And then we would need someone to say it in the perfective. And then we would need someone to command, like ask them for help using this verb. And so then we would be able to document. And if we were building like cool databases like this one, then we would have everything we need. We could put the rest together. But I'm thinking this database is wonderful, but we might get ourselves to a point where we don't need it. We could do those things ourselves. So like if you say, here's all the information to know that this should be at Táax'aa, she should be low. And it should be at Kayaaní, ha. Like we should be able to put those things together by practicing with the conjugator and also learning what those specific components are into future verbs and perfectives. So here's Táax'aa, long and low, like I thought it would be. And at Kayaaní, high, like I thought it would be. So like you can learn how to do this stuff. It's sort of a step-by-step process. But you definitely. But yeah, you will have verbs too that are, there was another one that I thought of where you just got to learn from context. But English has these too, right? Like there's verbs that sound absolutely identical, right?
You run a marathon, but you also run a business.
Yeah, right.
Or you start talking about rock, not a verb, but what is it?
Well, yeah, like I want to rock. A Twisted Sister, and then someone gives you tech. Like, man, I wanted to rock out.
Seal.
Or a rocking chair.
Yeah. You gonna seal it?
Mm-hmm. Or is that the seal of your government?
Right.
Or is it a seal in the ocean?
Bow. Take a bow. Put it in
Give
the
me a
water.
bow.
Right.
Because bow and bow are just pronounced differently, but it's all spelled the same.
Right. A bow, and a bow, and a bow, and a bow.
Mm-hmm.
And we can deal with it in English, right? And so we're going to run into that in Tlingit. So here was the one that I thought of, which was yasha, to marry, and yasha, for a dog to bark. Unrelated, totally unrelated. But like in terms, again, we can come in and see like how do we tell the difference, right? Because if someone said, if you thought they said my dog was barking, or if they say I was barking, but then you say, or you're like, wait, your dog got married? What? Or like, wait, your son was barking, right? And so like, we would figure those things out, right, by context. But so here's Shah, and we've got a zero event. So we're gonna have, and then we have Shah, which is, this one is Ga, and this one is zero. Okay, this is interesting. Okay, this is gonna be complicated. But this is the one. It's gonna have an A thematic on there. So the will always be on there. But those are gonna be very hard to tell the difference of. Like if we looked at the third person perfective for both of these, I bet you they're identical. Let's see. Here we have awasha. Okay, awasha. What do you think this one's going to be for a dog to bark? Awasha. Can't tell. If I just came out to you and said awasha, like, Kate, what trinket? Like, I don't know. But I think context gives you a lot. I can think of another one. Cha. So, like, if I said awacha, I might be saying they paddled. But you might be thinking they ate it. Identical. Well, it's rare. Usually there's enough to sort of separate them. But there's a handful of those. I guess like we gotta do like a little comedy skit now. Like, they paddled over.
With all the different verbs and different ingredients, the odds of two of them being identical are.
Yes.
Okay, but you often eat while you're paddling.
So
You can make a tongue twister out of that.
they ate it, they paddled, they married, and the dog was barking. And the dog barked.
That could be a typical canoe journey.
Right. Like all those things could happen.
Right.
Okay, good cheesh. Any other language stuff you folks were thinking about? Questions, thoughts?
Is anyone from living in Chica on Zoom calling? If you know anyone, the language conference does have a public lunch from 10 to 1 p.m. on Sunday. So if you were around, come over to Outer Coast or Fine Arts Campus or Sheldon Jackson, wherever you call that place. Kayaaní. There go all the names. There's a public one with lunch in English.
Outer Coast.
Okay. Okay, Johan. Well, let's get back to business here. I think this is where we left off with Táax'aa. A little sneak preview is we've done the 30 sentence version in here. Yeah? Did we do that one?
Yeah.
That's going to
Yes.
be, I think, the 5th book in the series. So there's going to be a book and an animated series coming out for that. So they might even have better illustrations than I have, but we'll see. But I'm excited because that's a real collaboration for Tlingit Haida and Gold Belt Heritage Foundation and Sealaska Heritage Institute to all put their hands together and publish one book together. It's very exciting. Okay, so this is kind of where we left off. Our approach is we kind of ignore the English over there. We've got it. And someone is going to read the sentence. And now we get to start with a very long sentence. So whoever's feeling like you got a lot of breath. Ook.
Yakik ia question cut talk dushu question cut talk hanast gadushu ki uste yakik a cha ya naska aya du hunku. What is that SIC there?
Skip it. Yeah, delete it. Means there's a little typo.
Ya kunashin.
Go to cheesh. Okay. Okay, and we also. Oh, okay. This is all part of. This was a very long sentence. It started on Thursday night, even I think, because we did X'éig. Yeah. So this is a 5-day sentence, I guess. X'éig kiki question kata kadushu. Question kata kadnaskadushu ke iste. Kiki chaya naskachaya duhin hasqa yqanishin. Okay. What is Kayaaní?
The youngest one.
The youngest
This
brother.
younger one.
The youngest one. So this, if you're ever talking about siblings, kids, what, like this could be like the last. I think it could work for like maybe. We were talking about this the other day. Like, could this work for kittens and like puppies? Be the last born, but they're all born like a bunch, so people aren't usually born like that.
Twins, triplets.
So what distinguishes the youngest from the younger?
Well, Kayaaní would mean it's the youngest. It's like saying there's no sibling younger than that one. And so this is interesting too, because Kayaaní works regardless of gender. If you switch to like Hunch'áa, Shet'ri'áa, what do you think those ones are?
Little brother, little
Oldest.
sister.
Yeah, the oldest boy and Shet'ri'áa,
Oldest girl.
oldest girl, right? So it can go that way too. I'm sorry for all of us middle children. They've got no name for us. Just
Oh, there's plenty of names for the middle children.
oh right.
Probably just none of them nice.
So this is kind of a cultural phenomenon, I think. It's like the middle ones just get absorbed into the fabric of the universe.
We would have had so many children who, like, what would have been the middle?
Right? And so, and why this is important, because the oldest one is usually the one the parents and guardian, like if it's the uncles or whatever, would talk to and say, okay, you get all them ones, you get them round up. And so you get a lot more responsibility, and you kind of get to be the boss of all the other siblings. You're like sibling boss, which is pretty awesome. But then, because there was a joke, like a friend of mine, this happens too with kinship. A friend of mine, we started becoming very close, started becoming very good friends, and we could both speak Lingi. So he said, "Gonna teach kick," and I said, "Toosáa, kuntai katabu," because he called me younger brother. So I said, "Hold on, wait, how old are you?" And when he told me, I was like, "You're the key. Make my coffee, sucker." So, but if you're the oldest, you're the one who gets in trouble. You get in trouble if anybody gets in trouble. So you're also kind of you're the supervisor for sibling life. And then if you're the youngest, everyone's got to know that, because that's the one everyone's got to. You got to baby that one. I don't know. That's probably universal too.
If you're the oldest, you can boss them around, but they don't listen.
It's very hard, and yet, like the parents probably don't really like figure it out. Okay, question katab kadachadush.
I have a side question real fast.
Oh, go ahead.
How would you do that with non-human things, like the oldest fish in the freezer or something?
Wait, say that again.
How would you do it with
yeah.
non-human stuff? So like, make sure you get the oldest fish in the freezer and eat that first or whatever.
So not living. So we're
So-
talking about kittens.
Or like leftovers. Eat the oldest thing first.
Right. I guess you'd say,
The one that came first.
Like, get an older one.
well, because okay, so we ran into this too, like yesterday, because we could say yen de shen, but that really only works with living things, like to be getting, because the verb root has to do with old age, and so tagu is how you say something is old and worn out, which is they usually laugh when they say something like that, say tagu, and that's a good question, to say like the one that's been in there, the one that's there the longest or something like that. Because you could say shuhua would be the first one. Or the one, okay.
The one that went in first.
Yeah, I gotta build a list of
Yeah.
questions now. Eat the older leftovers first. So, age of non-living things. Okay. I don't know how you'd say that. Okay, good question.
Sheesh.
Okay, question katak katachadushu.
Does that say maybe 10 winter and 7?
Maybe, well,
10
okay,
years and
10
7.
years.
10 years and 7. So, to put this sort of together, we have maybe
So 17.
Maybe he was 17.
10 years
17
and
years.
7. And we could say, oh, we know he's saying like 17 years old, right? Which you could say katagu. So when you say katagu, you're saying for something to be a certain number of years old. Kuntai katagu, that's what you say when someone calls you the younger sibling and you have your doubts. You think that that person's younger. Because we do have like kind of a person contest sometimes. And okay.
Yeah, that happened today. I said elders, please see, and then everyone started naming off their birth year because they want to be the first ones up.
Oh, well, I volunteered at a powwow like in Minnesota, and they had us line up and feed the elders. I'm like 18, 19 years old, and I was terrified because I'm like, okay, I give the plates to people who I think are certainly elders, but then there's like this first round, like, yeah, they look like an elder. But then it one starts to get, all those elders have eaten. There's this awkward sort of middle ground where like I gave someone a plate and they were so angry with me. And I thought that was I was like, I was just trying to be respectful. I would have taken the food. I would say, I'm not that old while I'm taking that food. All right. So there's something interesting going on here. Question
Maybe 10 years and 8.
Yeah,
Maybe
the
not.
UST. I found the UST, but not the G.
Oh, yeah.
I found
What is that?
perhaps for gift.
Yeah. That's a really good definition. Perhaps. And you'll see giwe.
So maybe
You'll see
not.
askiwe. What is the uste?
It's not. It
I
isn't.
thought it was like perhaps not.
That's how long
Maybe.
they existed?
Is that the T, as in like the T verb? Or?
Yes, it's the T verb.
Yes.
I'm
I
sorry.
thought it was like maybe 17, maybe 18, maybe not.
Yes, right? And so you could maybe so hard and think it that you flip the verb negative, even though there's no clash, which is wild. Like, it's not something you'll see very often, but like for this one, you could say, let's say they're a seine fisher, right? But if they're not a seine fisher, that's the negative of it. It's kash-uste, right? And we were going over this yesterday too. Like someone asked me to do Hamlet. I was like, well, what kind of being are we being? You gotta tell me that. Just being, existing, being one of these things. Figure it out, Hamlet. Okay. So, what you see here is gouache can push a verb negative. And that's sort of saying like, maybe, I'm really not sure. Right? But just in terms of like how that all comes together, and then we look at the translation, maybe he was 17 years old, maybe 18 years old. So a lot of the kind of richness, but they have to make decisions here, right? Because they're writing this. What you have to keep in mind with Dick and Nora Dowenhauer, when they were doing this work in the 70s, these stories were not allowed in schools. And they're like they were just not in schools. And so they wrote them with the intention of showing that this is high literature. This is quality stuff. It should be included in education. So that was a big part of their purpose, as well as creating translations for these things. Kayaaní, the youngest one. What did we come up with for that?
Yanaskach began to cry.
I came
Yeah,
up with it made him cry.
made him cry. Let's go look up some qah verbs. So here we see qah with a 0 classifier to cry. And we see with z and z. And so to cry for, to ask for, that's interesting. Ya nasqach, like it, you couldn't tell if that was a plus D classifier or not. Okay, and we're gonna have to get into our notes here for a second. So, oops, I'm gonna do a different note. Here's one from different conversation. But so if you have ya na, and if you were to have sa, there's something that happens here, right? For example, there is a verb that we know, right? Do we know this verb? Ausaku. You know this verb, yeah?
Yes, we know.
Wasaku, ausaku. Okay.
Wasaku.
He doesn't know.
So there's a perfective or a progressive form of this. It starts with ya. Or how do you say student? Do you know how to say student?
School.
Schoon one, and there's another.
School.
The two.
School.
Yeah, queen. And this is the same verb. So let's take a look. We can find this one, I know, in the database, and we'll also look for this yanasqach as well. So going into the database, so we're going to look for, what are we coming in here for? Ku. Okay. No paddling. No eating. No sweeping. Can't remember to close all my things. No raising hands. These are the verbs. Now you know what kind of verbs I look up during the day. No barking.
Yeah.
Everything's perfect. That one. I'm on a Zoom. Stop barking. Okay. No getting married. No spying. No berry picking. No folding up your limbs. Okay, I think I passed it.
Because it was like roll up, which made me think of sushi. I was
Oh,
like, are you making
yeah, that's it.
sushi
Yeah,
today?
yeah, it would be a quad. Okay, ku. That's what we're going for. So here it is. O, capital S, lowercase s, ku, h. This gives us everything we need to know to use this. And it's a 0 conjugation. We could use this verb any way we want to now. There's some little extra information over here. Don't worry about it. So we should know, event. There's no imperfective for it. Saku. You don't hear that very often. It's a very bossy thing to say. But here is the progressive. So what we see is you're going to have ya in front. They're all going to have na. And they're all going to have sa as the classifier. Ya naxsaquain, ya nissaquain, ya anasquain, ya yantisaquain, ya nisaquain, yas anasquain, yandisquain. There are 2 of them, well, I guess 3 of them here, that do not have a vowel in the classifier. Which ones are they?
Anasquain.
Yes. And has, ya has anasquain. One left.
Yandusque.
Yandisquain. So, when we think about the classifier, Let's see. I know where. Hold on. So if we think about the classifier, right, so here's the classifier. These are plus I versions of it. These ones with this little kind of beige coloring are plus D. So if you think about the plus D versions, if you go outside of the 0, you have just a single letter. If it's minus I plus D. That's the whole classifier. That gets a little wild once you start doing this stuff a whole bunch. Just to say, for example, Yewush gach tus teen. So that classifier is just the letter S, right? Shengich de tu. That's just the letter L, right? Ya'anish, well, Ya'anishkein. They're, or people are jumping around, I guess. But if you look at these ones, sa, sha, and sha. Those are what I would say are the natural forms of those classifiers. So what are the 4 classifiers? I would say 0, sa, sha, and sha. That's your 4 classifiers. You can modify them by adding the letter I to it, which the first one's just, it's different. It's just different than the others. It becomes ya, but the others follow a pattern that's recognizable. Sa to si, sha to shi, sha to shi. You can also add the letter D to it, which then you go da, di, s, z, gl, sh, j. Still with recognizable patterns. But in its original form, sa, sha, and sha, you do have this unusual rule, which is here. So, if any of these things come up, na, which is in ya'anas quain, y, or daqa, or d, it will kick the letter A out of that classifier. It'll just boot it right out. Get out of here, A. It's just one more thing to add to your, so this will be relevant for 3rd-person subjects because there's nothing there to stand between the classifier and these things. So that's why you'd say yan chassa queen, because cha is in there. Yan tussa queen, ya anas queen. So this all comes up because qach, yan nasqach, you cannot tell if that's a plus D classifier or not just by hearing it and reading it. But we can go start looking for this verb. So here's crying, to cry for. It shows us there's an imperfective, asqach. That's not really, there's no object in there. I don't see an object, or else coming back to what we're looking at, was this, what did I say, it's a 4 or 5 day sentence? It says ya nasqach, not ya anasqach. So I don't think that's our verb. And then we have ka and ka, so we don't really have it. We can go look at Lear's notes, see if he has it. And we're going, scrolling down, looking for qach. So here's crying, causing to cry. But it, so we'd still probably have the on there. Ayaqach, ayawqach. Wutzaqach. Went crying. Wutzaqach. There's no object on that. So I think that's our verb. In the progressive, when you say ya nasqach, they are going along crying. So again, coming back to like the richness of this story, the depth of what we can see. And then when you have cha, he's just going along crying. What did you come up with for that one?
He was searching, going after his older brothers.
Yes. Searching. There you go. Okay, we gotta do one more sentence and we'll take our break. Gotta get to the bottom of the page. I promise I won't take forever this time. I promise. Can I get a reader?
Ayak Yashak Kak Ayakaha Aya Ositini Kayaaní.
Okay. So, ayah, dak, yasha, chak. What do we got for there?
Inland. Between the mountains.
Yes. So, shachak, between, yes, so like between the mountains, which we might also call, what would be shachak?
Is it also a valley?
The canyon?
Yeah, well, like a valley is like shanach. I would say like, what do they call it, like the saddle of the mountain? Kind of
Pass.
There's these.
A pass?
I found canyon.
A ravine.
Chak on its own can absolutely be a canyon. Yes. And so this is one of these ones, I just said it wouldn't take forever. Okay, I'll be fast. So looking at the dictionary, this one is, what was I looking at? Spruce tips. See, this prove us doing plant stuff today. I have just plants in my mind. So if we look for the long version of chak, low tone, we get canyon, ravine, gorge. Yes, it is those things. But when you have the high tone version, and these are two things that are definitely related. It means between these things. So chak is when you get the sort of between things. But those are related concepts, right? Okay. Kaha, aya, ausatini, ka, aya.
He saw this one.
Yeah, well, ausatini ka.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
So why is there an I there?
He saw a person.
Yeah.
It's when he saw.
Well, this is, so that thing that you're talking about, like this, what we would call the relational or the subordinative version, like you say yake ursatini. So if we want to say, for example, so this is yake. Okay, let's do this. Okay, so here is I saw it. Chosatin. Here's I didn't see it. Kesh chosatin. Here's it's good that I saw it. Yake chosatini. So I'm basically taking this and adding an I to the end. That's the opposite of the tone before it, right? So if you had ausatin, they saw it, what do you think it would be like for they didn't see it?
Augustini.
Austin.
Haven't heard it yet. So you're gonna end up with
Ausatini.
Y 0 sa teen. And if we look, here's sa. This is nothing. This touches it. A goes away. The letter A is like, I can't be here. I can't be around that perfective marker. No way. So then the type of contraction you're going to get is a was teen. Just like tesh a was ku, tesh a was teen, tesh a was teen. This is going to be a very common pattern for the third person, because nothing's going to stop that perfective marker from knocking out that vowel. So you would have yak a Augustini. And there's two things that are different, because we have Ausitini ha. So here's two things that are different. The prefix, aus and ausit, and this one is high, and this one stays low. So this is a different suffix. What this suffix does is it turns a verb into an adjective. So this would be the person they saw. And then when we have akaha, this is another one of these things that he likes to use. After he got there, it's this person he saw. Which is, in English, it seems like an incomplete sentence. But in Lingi, it works just fine.
I didn't understand the kaha.
Yeah, so the kaha, this is a verb with a million meanings. And it's a good one to know. And I think the way we start to know it is by just starting to examine it. So one, this ha, there's a couple of things. There's probably 2 or 3 different ha verb roots here. One is to move invisibly. One is to move in a mass. And well, we'll start with those 2. So here's the move invisibly one. And so you've got like it yan uwaha. You've used this one, right? And then we get to saha, to erase. Saha, they erased it. They made it disappear. The one we're looking for, so when we have this kaha, this is the one to move in a mass, because you're moving a bunch of dirt. So that's gardening, digging. There's a whole bunch of gardening and digging type of verbs here. So we're not, but this is kind of like when they were doing this work, they might not have understood that this, like to rub, okay, I think that's a different one. I think that's number 3. To stir, I think that's number 2, which is to move in a mass. To be blamed, to meet up with someone, those ones I think are number 1. So number 1 is to move invisibly, number 2 is to move in a mass, number 3 is to polish something. So if those are our 3, I would say this is a 2, this is a 2, this is a 3, this is a 1, this is a 1. So now we get this one, to move. But there's a whole bunch of things. I think where we start to understand this is we're going to look at Lear's notes, and we're going to look at the handwritten version, so we get to sort of see his way of organizing his thoughts around this. And there's a lot of stuff here, but like there's a few Tlingit verbs that are just used for like a whole bunch of things. And this is one of them. So when we start getting into the ha
Are you
verbs,
sharing this?
no, I was just opening it.
Okay.
So here we have to become many. That's number 2, moving in a mass. Add to, lots of possessions. Those are all still verb root number 2. Ahuha, oops, cue the balloons. Missing, disappeared. That's verb root number 1. Khtuha, lost, verb root number 1. Awaha, uwaha, these are all number 1. And when you go through this, there's a whole bunch of, well, this one is number 3, to be worn out through rubbing. There's that sort of motion thing, type of thing. Has a rash. Now these are jumping to number 3. But I think if you look back in time, I think trying to figure out that there are these different verb roots, which we've been talking about today, like coming in, and the advantage in the 70s and 80s was there was a huge population of Tlingit language speakers, and they were really good. But the disadvantage was like this middle ground. Like there wasn't a deep understanding of how the language worked. The speakers knew everything. They knew it all. But it's like they could do those things, but then if you have a whole population that doesn't speak, and you have all of the Tlingit people and everybody on Tlingit land who doesn't speak for 60 years, that's a huge gap to try and fill. So now we've got Warhol, got to eat what they were wanting. That's probably a 4th ha, which is to desire something or want it. Huh. Move invisibly, back to number 1. Ahuha, achosaha, travelers. And then here you've got yan uaha, hungry, thirsty, wants coffee, sleepy, wants sex, wants to pee, wants to defecate, has to vomit. Leaves unseen, right? And so lost their appetite. And so now we see like a whole set of things that are following this kind of pattern where a noun can arrive at you. So you have this kind of arrival. Now we get atkuwa.
So this ha is, it's not physically invisible, but moving in a way that we don't really see. Like you can see someone walking or driving, but not. Yeah. This is just sort of an indefinite kind of moving.
So you say like kaha, after he got there, is really what you end up with. Because once we start going through here, like this is where itkuaha comes from, it's your turn. And then we start getting into adding to, like, just like it's worth it just to scroll through here and get nice and confused and like look at all these different things. Because once we get into the kaha verbs itself, which I think, now we got yahayaku, which comes from that. Yahayi, a picture or a shadow or a ghost. It comes from that number 1. Losing your voice, number 1. Went where no one could find them. That's still number 1. And then there's some like kaudaha, like so hakakawaha would be like these things came upon us, they happened to us. To be lonely for someone, I think that's number 4, to want someone. But then you've got, well, no, because there's like remembering, right? Anyways, we gotta take our break. There's a million of these. Look at them, they're fun. Okay, come back in 10 minutes. Or 5, wait, 8 minutes, come back in 8 minutes.
I got a joke for you.
Okay. Wait. Jishuhan. Let's see how far we can go. So I'm going to fix these as we go through. This was a retype, and so whoever retyped it, I can't remember who it was, they just put in parentheses SIC, which means there's a typo there, but they're typing it as is. But we're just going to fix it as we go along. Who will read this next one?
Chukle ayu ausiku usaha kon satiye.
Okay. And what about Chukle ayu ausiku?
Just then he knew.
Yeah.
Good as cheese.
Yeah.
We were laughing because someone raised their hand in the room and was very thoughtful for a long time. Then you do that. Just then he knew. So Chukle is just then, yes. And then it would usually refer right back to the last thing that we were just talking about. So like as soon as he saw, that person.
Yeah, I was just thinking about what could be the purpose of using the you rather than the way there.
Way over there or back then?
Yeah. So it's like trying to get that through.
Yeah. It's interesting. And
they were one of the cannibals.
Yes, that it is a cannibal. Like however you want to translate, the cannibal.
So I went with a more literal translation, at least the first time, and so I looked it up, and it looked like it was people nibbling clan.
Oh yeah, the people of eating people in bites.
Put that on a t-shirt.
So we're gonna do this one.
The thing I found said it was a compound noun for man-eaters.
It is. Yes. It's cheese. Okay, so I am going to break this one into. It kind of was written as he said it, and he says this part really fast, which I find really interesting.
It's a very exciting part of the narrative. So it's
Yes.
like tension is growing.
So let's go one sentence at a time. And this might have a pronoun that we haven't talked about a whole lot. Will someone read the sentence? Okay. And how will we translate that?
They came right next to them. Like Khan is like next to or close to by them. They came by them.
Well, maybe not came.
Toward them.
Walked.
Maybe not walked. I'm having a problem with the ED part. Yeah.
Walk.
Yeah.
Come.
He is walking.
He is walking.
Walking.
So in this case, I'll probably say it is walking towards him. Right? And or like it's walking right at him. Like it kind of depends. Like in the intensity of the story, you might say it's coming right at him, right? But what is the Ush doing?
Main character.
Main
guy.
charactering.
Yes, so we know
Okay.
that is the young man, right? That's the person that we're focused on. Now we get a fun one. Who will read this one?
Klesh ade awunachti haneye anak.
Yeah, oh what? And what did we find for this one?
Awundenachtihani. I found fleeing, running.
Yes, to turn away from, to flee.
And it was a potential attributive. He couldn't. There's no
Yes,
way he
it's
could
a long
flee from him.
hint form. So you're going to end up with the irrealis, conjugation prefix, a plus I classifier. And then you're going to have I at the end, low tone always, and yeah. So you'd say ayaudahan as they turned away from it. They fled. Ayaudahan. But now you get kech ade awunach dahan yeah. So with that part, there's no way he could flee. And what about the anak?
It was just part of the verb.
Not quite. Because you could say anak wugud. I could say this, ach nak igud. And I'd be grumpy if I said it, probably.
Is it away?
Yeah, you left me behind. So this nak is a relational noun that has to do with direction, and it means to leave something behind. So if someone walked off without their keys, you left without your keys.
Is this the same as like Janak?
No. But, so jinak is like let it go. But they could be related. That's a verb root, and I do think that they could be, because it means to release it, to let go, to quit. So I bet you they are related. So I take back my no and replace it with a solid probably. So if we have he could not flee, and we have anak, and if you spoke Yupik or Nupiak, it sounds like he pooped on the mountain. But this is Lingi. It's not anak, it's anak. What would be left behind? So the big hint is it's and not ush. It has to be the cannibal.
There's no way he could get away from the cannibal.
Yeah. In this case, we would probably just say from it. Like, he's trying to go and leave that thing behind. That's what he would want to do, but he could not do it. Which gets us to this. Can I get a reader? Sheesh. And what did we find for this one?
Just at that time, he was like a frozen thing.
Yeah, what? Would at a frozen thing? Yach, ayah. You'll find some speakers really like to use ayah. Especially in it might be because this is a really ancient story. It goes way, way back. Ask questions if you got them. Also keep going. So I'm going to read the next line.
Akulhek ayu ye ashmusine.
And what did we get for this
Fear caused it to happen to him.
I had questions about akulhek.
There's a verb and then this is a noun built out of that verb.
Did the verbal noun come from the command form, or how did that get built? Because I thought the verbal noun was supposed to come from like the negative imperfective form.
Not necessarily. Like if there's, like, let's just look at some, and this is another paper that needs to be written, is how does this one work, right? So for example, this is
Are you just keeping a list of doctoral dissertations for Tlingit scholars?
Yes, we're accepting applications into our imaginary program. So this is a verb, and what does it? How would we translate this verb?
Strong.
They are strong, or it is strong. This is the noun form.
Strength. Exist. They exist. It exists.
Life, existence.
Like,
And so if we go look up this one, we could find, well, it would be something like this. Usually, akaudle, they are afraid of it. And this is an interesting one, because like I could say, cake, dach, akaudle, and now they're afraid of the dog or dogs. And so this one, someone explained it to me. They said, the short answer is it becomes ungrammatical. When you see it, it's not a verb. Like shutzin can't be a verb because we know it's a state verb. And why would it go minus I if there's nothing else really, there's no pledge or anything like that. And same with kuste. Like so kuste goes minus I. And then in this one, the stem changes. For this one, you go from akaudlechek to aku. Fear or danger. I don't know. I just know we have verbal nouns, and they don't always follow the same sort of pattern. But it's a little different because you can also make things into adjectives sometimes, and those are kind of a different thing. Like we saw ausatini. So, this is the noun form, fear, ashvusane. So now, but we see a pattern here, right? So you could say, fear did it to me. Akurchet. Fear did it to me. And now you could have a noun doing something to someone, causing something to happen, basically.
I came up with fear took the main character.
So like this here's another, this is another one of these, like, it's kind of an all-purpose verb, like a kawaha. Ausane is an all-purpose verb. It has multiple meaning, like you could say they fixed it. You could say they moved multiple objects. And then you could say they did the thing. Whatever the thing is that we're talking about, right? So if you said, if I came in and I said, toosáa kawaki, who broke the window? You might point at someone, they did it. So it has so many purposes. It serves so many purposes. But then if in context, right? So you could say, there's a story where I think Raven is bemoaning something that happened to him. And he said, it was the women of the Chukanadi that did this to me. So then it sort of says, they did this thing to me. So again, like the thing has to be kind of known to know what this sene verb is talking about. It does so many different things, right? So I could say, ye nasne itika. So if I say that, there's the command form. And what do you think that's saying?
It's running out.
Make what's left of you.
Do we know what itika is? Itika. That part is your room. Yes, clean your room. So like, yenasne on its own is do it. If we say yenasne itika, we know what's being asked. Yenasne we nada, clean the table. It's a wild verb, and so it does a bunch of stuff for us. Which the context, it's sort of your did it verb, right? Like in English, did and does, like that. There's a whole bunch of stuff that serves the purpose of. Okay, and transfer these to our other notes so we have them.
So is itika just the possessed form of eika or something?
Itika means on. Itika would be on the remains of you or on the place where you used to be.
Okay.
But eat also means like a room,
Okay.
like a space for kind of.
So eat is just one word.
Okay, I think we can do one more, even though I feel like we're nearing the point of exhaustion. So I say one more lap. Can someone read this one? And the next line, Dave? Okay. Okay. Kai ashkhandi yanagudi.
Then they came out. No, then they came close to them. They came to them.
And?
Then they're coming towards them. Coming to them.
What about the I part at the end?
Then when they come to him.
Because it's still in this yanagut, so it's still. Because you could say Kai ashkhant uagut or Kai ashkhant ugudi. Then when he got to him. But for me, keeping it in the progressive means these things are like right when he arrives is when the next thing happens. And we got another tle. Look at that. Oops, I would probably keep that low. When they double up in a sentence, that means these things are like bang, bang, bang.
They strike the main character on the head.
A shower hitch. And then we get this one.
The cannibal struck him on the head, clubbed him on the head.
Good enough cheese. Thoughts or questions? You okay? I'll have a plan for the Toosáa on Thursday. But it might end up being, instead of a watch party, I might just put it in a shared folder and have you guys watch it over the weekend. Should you choose, if it's too scary for you, it's okay. Okay. Natish Klein, Ekecha. Ebushka Tish.
Julia Constantine.
Ah.
Yes.